Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Molten Core returns again today for another week of some raid action, and in this video I'm going to take a look at what sort of setup I'm going to enter this Molten Core with. I also maintain a playlist here on YouTube that includes all of my valid guides for Molten Core. So obviously there's multiple strategies that you can use on various bosses, and all of the strategies that work on the current versions of bosses are part of that playlist. So you can find the playlist down below in the description. And let's take a look at what I'm going to do this time. So for Lucifron, unbounds in general are very strong. Execute is really good here. If it's 23 or higher, so the 2 executes can kill one of the Dominator Lieutenants, then it's really strong. If it's lower, then it's a little bit weaker. I made these comps earlier for people who don't necessarily even have a level 23 execute, because then it's just easier to go in with unbounds. Typically nowadays when I clear this boss, I switch one of the unbounds for an execute, so I just think that's even easier, although of course requires some levels from the execute, but that double Maiev setup, I do like that for Lucifron a lot. I think that's going to be what I'm going to do this time as well. As for Magmadar, execute is great here as well, and I've been doing Magmadar with Sylvanas, even with double Sylvanas, but now that Sylvanas is buffed, Sylvanas is so strong that I don't think I want to spend any Sylvanas in Magmadar. So I'm probably going to go in with Talnos. I used to do this with Talnos. I've also done this with Rivendare. I've actually used all the undead leaders here, and pretty much the same idea with the army works with all of them. I do like Sylvanas and Talnos in particular over Rivendare because they can both shoot air and they both have AoE, so all those skeleton parties, the drakes, they're just really good at killing all of those things that are going to come at your base, the unbound things as well and flying things, so I do like those leaders. I'm probably switching back to Talnos. I have some old Talnos video about this as well, back when Meatwagon was still a thing in this boss. Nowadays the boss aggro's Meatwagon, so it's weaker, but probably going back to Talnos for this one. But still using basically these armies that I used with Sylvanas. Then there's Gehennas and Shazzrah, safe pilot for those Flamewaker elites. I do love the Molten Giant plus Fairy Dragon, making a big resistant tank, and then Meatwagon, so once you're tanking the boss, then Meatwagons will just shoot from outside of its range and kill it. That's just beautiful for this one. And these are the armies that I used in my latest guide. I'm still using these exact same armies, although I'm not using these exact same leaders always. I don't use Rend here really, I want to save Rend for a little bit later. Rivendare is completely fine here, but the one that I like to use here the most is Cairn. I just like Cairn. Cairn can also tank a little bit if needed, so can also sub in for the Molten Giant in some cases, especially at the start when you don't know what your opening hand is, so I think Cairn just makes for the smoothest experience in this one. Overall, these same armies, they still work. The fourth boss is Garr, and I really like to use one Drakizat here, because Garr's AoE deals damage to everything you have, and then Drakizat brings that resistance to everything you have, so it just goes in really nicely. Drakizat plus healer. Tyrion will do, Tyrion is still perfectly fine, although I think Scenarios is actually the stronger healer for this one. So Drakizat Scenarios is what I like to do here. Rhyme Skeletons or Chickens to defend one or the other. So that works all right. I really look forward to Baron Geddon this time because of Sylvanas. Because Sylvanas with the Fury talent. And that means I'm going to be able to get Fury Gargoyle. I'm going to be able to get Fury Meatwagon, and I can use the range talent. So that then there will be Furious Range Meatwagons, Fury Gargoyle. That should be so sweet. So in my last guide I used Drakizat and Rend here. I've done this with double Rend as well. This time I think I'm going to replace the Drakizat with Sylvanas. So going in with Sylvanas plus Rend. That's probably the plan. You don't need to use 2 copies of Sylvanas, and you probably won't even play the Sylvanas. You just bring her for the Fury talent, and I think that's going to be sweet. If it's really sweet, then I'm going to make a video of that one. Golemagg is another one where you could use Sylvanas with the Fury talent. And maybe Gargoyle would finally be worthwhile. I know some people have already been using Gargoyle in Golemagg. I've been testing it, but I haven't been super happy with it. But maybe Fury Gargoyle with Sylvanas. Perhaps that is going to be good enough. Although double Chaga is still smooth sailing, and the basic Golemagg strategy with the Chimeras, that just works. And the final boss Ragnaros, I have 2 videos of Ragnaros skills in its current setup. There's the Vogan strat and then the Arcane Blast strategy. I don't have one with just Whelpex and Executes, but that's an option. Drakizat plus Tyrion is an option. Drakizat plus Jaina is an option. There's a few ways that you can beat Ragnaros. One of my favorites is the Worgen strat with that Emperor Taurus and Hubris Talent Worgen, any rare Worgen in the boost slot becoming level 30 and just hitting Ragnaros so incredibly hard. That's just lovely, and Jaina goes in nicely with that. And Arcane Blast with the Torrent Talent is just downright hilarious because you use it to blast all the time the Ragnaros' minis, and then it just grows and grows, and by overtime it's such a huge it's just wonderful. Obviously you could also just run Execute instead of Arcane Blast. That's perfectly viable. Then you probably wouldn't want to run something like Emperor plus Sneed, but you would run Jaina, or I think I like Sneed Jaina better for that sort of execute strategy, because Sneed brings that increased income and then that benefits Jaina as well, and I just think that's more stable than going in with double Jaina. But double Jaina of course also is potential, and if you have high enough level on Dragisat, then you can just send Dragisat going against Ragnaros as well. So many alternatives for Ragnaros strategies. I don't have a clear idea of what Sylvanas could contribute here, but I'm going to see if I can cook something with Sylvanas for this one as well. Sylvanas I expect to be really good at Geddon. I expect could be good at Golemagg, and could be good at Ragnaros, so I'm going to try those out. But yeah, nothing too much has changed, but because I want to save that Sylvanas for later, and then compared to guides are several months old, then I typically use Rend nowadays on Geddon. Then a couple of leaders are different, even though the armies are exactly the same. And yeah, Molten Core, another time, and these are pretty much the armies that I want to use. You can find guide videos of all of these on my channel. You can find a link to a playlist down below in the description, and let's go beat up some elemental lords. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.